What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Spawn Point Podcast. My name is Cam, and you can clearly see it's a little bit different this week. Jason and I actually started recording episode 9 together, but he had to leave due to an emergency. I don't know what's going on. I can't say anything, and I may not ever know what exactly is going on, but that's totally fine. Obviously, I told Jason, leave, take care of yourself, and take care of whatever's going on. The show's not important. So he's been dealing with whatever. So my thoughts and prayers are with him and his family during this difficult time. I don't exactly know what's going on. I know that he's texted me a couple times. So I don't know. Ultimately, I wasn't sure if I was going to do anything, if we were just going to skip this week or whatever, but I decided I wanted to get a podcast out still just because whatever he's dealing with, I'm assuming he's going to want to return to some level of normality in the future. And I'm going to keep the show going. So I'm posting this podcast. I'm doing it myself. It's totally fine. But I wanted to still make the show. That way we can keep moving the progress forward. And whenever he's ready to return, we'll figure it out there. But again, I hope for all of you guys, if you're listening, to send your thoughts and prayers to Jason in this difficult time as he's working through whatever needs to be worked through. Yeah, we're just gonna keep it moving. So it's obviously going to be a shorter episode this week. I got a couple games that I played that I'm going to talk about, and then we'll do the news like usual, and then I'll go through the community section as well. And we'll just kind of take it as in terms of a normal show, but it's just going to be much quicker because there's no back and forth that's going to happen. It's just going to be me blabbing at you guys the entirety of the time. So should still be okay, hopefully. But yeah, as far as this week's gone for me, man, it's been a lot of work. I haven't really been able to play a lot of games. I've probably played 2 hours of video games all week. I actually spent quite a bit of time today. Instead of doing the podcast, I was playing some stuff, and I rolled credits on Soul. I'm gonna hold that conversation, I think, until next week. We'll do like a final recap of Soul and things like that, just because I don't have any footage put together yet for that. So I'm just gonna kind of work on that later. But just be expecting Soul recap discussion on the next episode. But other than that, it's been pretty straightforward this week. I did buy another arcade cabinet, which is pretty cool. I have to go to Waterloo to pick it up on Wednesday, but I got a Legends Ultimate cabinet it's a 2-player cabinet. It's a full-size cabinet as well. It's not a 3/4 scale. 2-player control pad, much wider than the arcade 1-ups, and it's got a spinner on it and a ball, so I'll be able to play some Golden Tee on that thing. So I'm very excited. Once I get that thing in here, I might be selling some of my other arcade cabinets on the old marketplace, because I'm assuming it's going to replace some of them. You know what I mean? But I'm doing this instead of modding my Street Fighter 2 cabinet, just because it's pretty much going to give me everything that I was looking for when I was going to mod the cabinet that I have anyways. So this is just going to be a replacement. But we'll see. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, more next week as well, once I get that thing here and get it all put together and fuck with it a little bit. So we'll get to that when we get to that. Other than that, though, that's it. Let's go ahead and dive in. So the first game I have for you guys to talk about today is Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly. Now, I just played the demo of this game, and we posted a demo playthrough on Spawn Point Network, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday. So if you go to the YouTube channel, you can watch my full experience, my full playthrough of the demo. It was about 45 minutes, so pretty substantial. Basically took me through the entirety of the first chapter. But this game did release in full on the 12th of March, so 3 days ago. So this game is fully out if you're interested. And again, if you're not sure what it is, check it out on YouTube at Spawn Point Network first. Get a feel for it. That'll give you an idea whether or not you're interested in purchasing it. But the Fatal Frame franchise is a very interesting franchise. It's a franchise I've always been interested in, but I am a wimp, so I try to stay away from horror games as much as possible. But when I saw that they were remaking Crimson Butterfly, I jumped in the demo, and I got to be honest, man, I think all of the remake and upscaling and upresing and redone textures and everything that they've done in this project makes a world of difference. I think the game looks very modern. It plays very modern. It's actually pretty beautiful to look at. So they've done a really nice job with the remake, which is very impressive. I'm very happy to see that. This was originally a PS2 game. I think the original was released in 2003. So, of course, going back to that now is going to be a little rough around the edges. So it's very nice to have a more modernized version here in the year of our Lord 2026. And I will say, I enjoyed the demo quite a bit. I thought I found it much more enjoyable than I thought. So we should probably backtrack a little bit. So if you're unfamiliar with Fatal Frame, it's essentially a series of Japanese horror games where you acquire a camera, and this camera is able to exorcise, I guess exorcise would be the word, ghosts and demons and spirits and apparitions throughout the environment. So it's a third-person game, and then when you go to fight the apparitions, you have to go into first person with your camera and take pictures of them, which deals damage to the apparition, and eventually they'll disappear. So pretty creepy in that way. Like I said, I mean, just the tension that this game builds, even while you're in the third person mode, is pretty crazy. I mean, throughout the first chapter, I was pretty much tensed up the whole way through. The sound design is absolutely striking and fantastic in this game. I didn't have headphones on just because I was recording footage. So if I have my wireless headset on while I'm playing and recording footage, you don't get any game audio, which I can't obviously do. I can't upload a playthrough of a game with no game audio. But I had the TV turned up loud enough. You can hear creaking and all these different sounds and stuff just to build that tension up. And that's kind of what this game is. It's not necessarily a jump scare game. It's more of a rising tension experience. And I was very, very tense during that first 45 minutes. So I think that this game is doing everything it sets out to do. However, I don't think I'm going to rush and grab this one, the full version. It is $49.99 full price. You can get it on Xbox, PS5, PC, and it had a Switch 2 port as well if you're interested. But I played through Cresol. As I mentioned earlier, I beat that game today, and that was kind of my horror fix. We'll talk about that down the line. Got some things to say about Cresol. But this isn't one I'm going to prioritize picking up right this second, just because I kind of had a game similar just not long ago. So I am interested in this. It is going on my wish list as a game that I might try to pick up and tackle in October. I usually kind of ramp up my horror game playing during October. So this is definitely on my list to get back to in that month because I did enjoy it. But I will be shitting myself while playing this for sure. It was definitely very spooky. I think it's hitting and firing on all cylinders. So again, if you're interested in Fatal Frame 2, there is a demo on PS5 at least. I'm not sure if the demo's out on any other platform, but the game itself is $49.99. You can get it on all modern consoles, including the Switch 2. Now, the next game that I have for you guys today is a little bit on Slay the Spire 2. So Jason and I had both mentioned that we enjoyed the first one. So I actually looked back at my playtime for the first Slay the Spire, and I only had played it for about 4 hours, which kind of surprised me. So I'm not really qualified to be able to compare the two games, but I'm going to do my best. So basically, if you don't know what Slay the Spire is, it is a deck-building, dungeon-crawling, roguelike game. So the beginning of the run, you select a character, you go into that character, and that character has a base deck that you can use. So during the first combat encounter, you'll go up against an enemy. You'll fight the enemy. Once you kill them, you unlock coins. You unlock a new card, which is kind of the main reason why you will take combat encounters to add another card to your deck. So as you're kind of going through combat encounters, you're getting new cards and building this deck out the way that you would like. And for some reason, this game just hits. I don't know. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's a deck building roguelike dungeon crawler, which is typically not my genre. I'm not really big into card games much, but this game just does it for me. And I don't exactly know what the reason for that is, but it does. So when you launch into the run, you get a map screen that pops up, and you can kind of see as you ascend the spire, you can kind of pick the route that you'll take. So you kind of have to look at the map before selecting your starting point. And you have to kind of balance it out because you have these enemy encounters, you have question mark rooms, which could be an enemy encounter, or they could be an item, or they could be like a cursed room or whatever. So it's kind of a gamble with those question mark rooms. You also have markets, pretty simple. You can use your gold from combat to purchase new cards or relics. We'll talk relics in a second. Then you also have campfires that you can rest. And if you don't need to rest at the campfire, you can actually upgrade a card that's in your deck, which is pretty cool. So if you're able to kind of maintain your health at a good spot, you can make a card in your deck stronger. Nice little change of pace there. And then, of course, scattered throughout, there's also treasure chests and elite enemies or boss enemies indicated by basically the length of their horns on their head. So kind of cool, but you get to kind of pick your route on your way ascending the spire, depending on what you're wanting to accomplish. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And one of the great things about these two games in particular is the fact that they are incredibly pick up and play capable. So if you're in the middle of a run, you can save right where you're at, put the game down, and then when you return, you can continue right where you left off. So there's no locking you into a run and then you're just stuck for 2 hours or whatever, however long the run takes. So that's very nice. Makes it very accessible for someone with a busy lifestyle, which I think is a massive, massive positive. And that's something you don't get with a lot of roguelikes, because usually once you get into a run, you're stuck until you either die or clear the run. So very nice features. But everything I've said pretty much recaps the first game and the second game. So if we specify the second game, which is what we're here to talk about in the first place, they've redone a lot of the animations. The animations look, in my opinion, much better. This game is really not a game you would even think about the animations needing an uplift, because you're not even really paying attention to what your character looks like when they attack or what the enemy looks like when they take damage. But they are done up from the original game, which is a positive, and I'm glad they put the time in. That being said, there's really only like one attack animation in this game, same as last game. It just looks a little bit nicer, so nothing wrong with that. But one thing that I will say is very different about Slay the Spire 2 over the original Slay the Spire is it does appear that there is a lot more build diversity, at least early on in the game. As I mentioned, I only played the first one for about 3 to 4 to 5 hours, somewhere in that ballpark. So not too long, so I don't know what late game Slay the Spire original felt like. But at least in this game, I use the Silent most of the time, which is the second character that you unlock through the playthrough. You start with the Ironclad, and then I unlocked the Silent in my first run. We'll talk about that also in a second. But typically what the Silent was in the first game for me was just a poison stacking character. And she can do that in this game as well, but there's also a second build option from the very beginning of the run where you can actually build shivs. So it's like a shiv build. So you can use a card and it generates a bunch of shivs in your inventory that don't require any resources to use. And that is really, really fun if you can get a build going with shivs. And then on top of like the shivs, there's like a card called Accuracy, which increases the damage of your shivs. And then there's like a legendary card that you can acquire along the run that will make your shivs hit all the enemies on the screen. So the shiv build can be absolutely amazing once you start getting it going. And I really appreciate that is available to you so early on in the game. So I've really been having a lot of fun with this game. It's definitely a Steam Deck game for me. It's a game I lay in bed and play more than anything else. I absolutely love it for that aspect. And like I said, if I start to doze off or fall asleep, I can just save it and resume the next night right where I left off, as long as I remember what I was doing. So fantastic. It is $24.99 in early access. Jason and I talked about not covering early access games, and we really won't cover them much. It's not like we're trying to stay up to date on every early access title that comes out. But Slay the Spire is a little bit different just because I did enjoy the first one so much. I did want to get my hands on it. And it's a game that, yes, it's early access. That stinks. But there's definitely enough content here to warrant purchasing the game outright during its early access period. So ultimately, really, really cool game, really fun. I'm going to definitely keep hacking away at this one as time goes on. I think it's holding my attention. It's tremendous, and it'll be cool. It'll be cool to continue. So that pretty much covers the games for me this week. We had planned to talk Pokemon Pokopia this week with Morgan. We're going to go ahead and push that out until Jason gets back because I have not played it. And then Jason brought another game that he'll save as well for when we get around to it. So it's no big deal. But that's pretty much all that I had to supply for games this week. So I'm going to go ahead and get a drink of water. So for you guys listening, you're not going to notice anything, but we're going to hop right into the news. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into the news. So first piece of news here, starting with Xbox as usual. Xbox says backwards compatibility program will be revived for 25th anniversary, but they did not specify what in particular is going to be backed up. So, of course, as I've mentioned on this podcast many times, I'm all for game preservation. I love when companies do this to kind of keep those games from the past relevant in a day and age like today. So, yeah, I love this. Of course, I love this. I'm not going to complain with this whatsoever. We'll just have to wait and see what they decide to port over. Right along with this conversation, though, Xbox did announce Xbox mode for Windows 11, which sounds like that could be the new ecosystem for Project Helix. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. And I would be very curious to see if some of the backwards compatibility library transfers over to Windows 11 as well, just so that way we're able to play some of our old games without having to emulate them, I guess. It'll be interesting to see. So we'll have to keep our eyes on this and see what happens. I know that I talk a lot of shit about Xbox, but at the end of the day, man, they're making a PC, and I'm gonna be able to play all Xbox games on my PC. So it's weird from that, everything that they're going through, but it'll actually be pretty solid for me because I'll be able to play all of these. I pretty much already can, but anyways, that's what Xbox is doing. We'll have to kind of wait and see on more details on this as time progresses. Moving on from there, Echo Generation 2 Xbox Series XS limited time demo is available now. This looks to me like a kind of a Slay the Spire-like game. We pull up the footage here. So it's got a very blocky pixel art style, but as you can see, card-based deck building battler from what I can see here. This is one of those news stories that Jason put in, so I'm not exactly sure what he was going to say about this, but it does look very cool. I think the art style is nice. It does have that blocky art style, similar to like Minecraft and things like that, or that game he talked about on the show. I don't remember what it was called. It was that taxi game. I cannot remember for the life of me what that was called. I try my best to remember everything we've covered, but as we're getting into more and more episodes, it's harder to keep up on. But it looks very nice, very tight pixels in this game, so it looks very, very cool. You can play this on Steam and Xbox, so it's an Xbox exclusive, and it looks pretty nice. Like I said, I like Slay the Spire. This looks like another one of those, but different art style. And maybe this one's story-based as opposed to being a roguelike. I'm not entirely sure. I've not heard anything about this, but cool one to showcase anyways. So there you go. There is Echo Generation 2. You can get your hands on this limited time demo until March 18th. So you have till Wednesday to get in there and play this. So it says in the full game, you'll have more than 100 unique cards to collect, enabling you to craft combos, summon allies, and hit enemies with powerful attacks. Anyways, let me know down in the comments down below if you've checked out the Echo Generation 2 demo. I'd love to hear from you. The game looks very interesting, and if it's getting enough good praises, I would certainly be interested in checking it out on the PC. So there you go. There's Echo Generation 2. Go ahead and keep that one on your radar. Moving on from there. Video Game Chronicle is reporting that the Xbox Project Helix could cost $999 to $1,200. Report suggests. Basically just put this on our dock because we fucking called this. So yes, I expected this thing to be very expensive, considering it is going for kind of the kind of a PC console hybrid market in the same line as the Steam machine. So it was going to be priced competitively to that product. And again, this price range just kind of indicates to me that this is probably still going to come out next year. I would expect holiday of next year for this product, and it's going to be very, very expensive. So that is what we said, what we called. We'll see what happens with this thing. I just don't know if the market is there. I really don't know if the market is there for this product. I just don't know what it's for. Maybe you guys can let me know down below what you think about that. But of course, Xbox is moving and grooving, and we'll see. It is going to be the more powerful of the two consoles, as it says here in the subtitle, but it's just an interesting course correction. Like I said last week, I think that this product goes up head-to-head against the Steam machine and not necessarily the PS6. So it'll just be interesting to see how this all goes because, Xbox does have high brand recognition. I'm assuming there's a lot of people that are really invested in the Xbox ecosystem, and they're going to end up purchasing whatever Xbox puts out, which is going to obviously hinder the sales of the Steam machine, in my opinion. And the Steam machine is a good idea, in my opinion. The problem is, if you're not or have never been a PC gamer to build up a Steam library of epic proportions like I have, or a lot of people have, the Steam machine is kind of not as valuable purchase because you got to build that library up. Whereas, I've got a massive collection of games I've collected over the past 15 years on Steam. So I've got a wide library. So it's more, it's something that's more interesting for me. Not something I'm ever going to purchase, but my Steam Deck is enough for me to be able to access my library. But anyways, we'll see as this transpires and continues to go down the pipe. We're going to hear a lot more about Helix as time goes on for sure. So anyways, get ready to shell out some cash for that PC console hybrid. Moving on from there, I got a Sony conversation, and this is a bad one. So I'm actually going to have a little bit of a rant about Sony, and typically I have been very positive on the show, but no bias here. If something gets fucked up, I'm gonna talk about it. So Sony is testing dynamic pricing on the PlayStation Store. This is horrendous. So basically how this works in layman's terms is depending on your PlayStation account, and a lot of factors get added in, how many games you purchase in a year, all of these sorts of things, your gaming habits, things like that are all going to factor into the discounts that you see on the PlayStation Store. So that is horrible because we're in a position now where games are going to be discounted at different rates for different people. So, a game that I may see as a guy that buys a lot of video games at like a 17% discount, or for my example, if I buy accounts that have a lot of game purchases and high play times will get like 5% discounts on games, and then the same game will be discounted for another player that maybe doesn't buy as many games up to 17.6%. So you can see there's a big fluctuation of discounts there. So it just basically fucks over the person that's invested in the PlayStation ecosystem because they're not getting the full discount that is available for that product. And that is ass. That is absolutely fucking ridiculous. Obviously, it's just another way to squeeze money out of people. And it is horrible. It is absolutely terrible. This should not exist without a question. This is a dumb idea. I hate this idea. But yeah, I mean, it's terrible. So they say here, price differences seen by users currently range from discounts of 5% and 17.6%, including first-party games like God of War Ragnarok, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, Gran Turismo 7, and The Last of Us Part 2. So Sony has been A/B testing prices for at least 3 months in 30 different regions and is now doing so in 70 regions. So, yeah, like I said, this is just bad for the consumer, good for the brand, or good for Sony. They're able to squeeze more money out of those that actually do purchase more than one game a year. I hate this. It's stupid. It's almost never going to be a benefit for any player, this type of dynamic pricing scheme. And they do say they are just testing it. I would expect this to be fully implemented without a doubt. So, not a big fan of that, but it is time to move on to everyone's favorite section, the Nintendo section.
It's Nintendo time!
Love that. Starting off here in the Nintendo section, Fortnite Save the World coming to Nintendo Switch 2 will be free to play. So this is interesting to me because I thought they practically killed Save the World. But it is coming back, appears, on the PlayStation, or on the Switch 2 as a free-to-play game. So Save the World was what Fortnite was supposed to be originally until they made the Battle Royale mode, which took over the entirety of the world. I didn't really like Save the World much, but I knew a guy, my buddy Dylan, was massively into Save the World. He actually preferred the PvE stuff over the Battle Royale, which was wild. So very, very cool that they're bringing this back. It was something that was relatively popular. But yeah, I had not heard that Save the World was coming back. But that's pretty neat, you know, and it's just another way for them to get people to spend V-Bucks to buy skins to play Save the World. So let's backtrack a little bit. Save the World was a horde survival mode where you used Fortnite's building mechanics to stop waves of zombies as they approached your base. So it was a cool concept. It was unique at the time when Fortnite came out, 10 years ago nearly at this point. But yeah, it got phased out quickly with the Battle Royale. I don't even know if you can, I don't think you can even play Save the World, or haven't been able to play Save the World for maybe 8 years. So it is interesting that they're bringing it back. If you guys haven't had a chance to try Save the World, it's worth at least checking out for the Switch 2. I don't know if this is going anywhere else or just the Switch 2. I literally have no idea. I did not hear about this at all, but very interesting nonetheless. You can go ahead and get your hands on that. I don't believe it says April 16th, 2026. So there you go. You can get it on April 16th. I'm so confused at what's going on here. It's taken almost a decade, but Fortnite Save the World will now be free to play. So is it already out? I might not know shit about what I'm talking about here, dude, to be honest, but April 16th, you can play Save the World for free. Moving on from there. Nintendo's share price has climbed 15% in 2 days after the success of Pokemon Pokopia. Pokemon Pokopia, I don't know what exactly the title is, but that game is doing incredibly well. Scored an 89. It's one of the highest rated games of the year. Well, we'll have a conversation about that in detail. How do I want to do this? I'll probably post it as a video up on our YouTube. So if you guys want, Morgan and Jason did actually record the Pokopia section of the pod. I'll upload that as a separate video so you can kind of get their early impressions on that. To summarize, since we're doing the podcast, they, well, you know what? I'm just going to splice it in here. So I'll splice in their conversation of Pokopia, and then I will be right back with you. We got a fun one to talk about. Now, this would normally be reserved for the end of the show. It's kind of the big game of the week that we're covering, but my wife's here. I don't want to keep her tied into hearing us talk games for 2 hours, so we're going to start with Pokopia. Jason,
Pokemopia.
Pokemon Popipia.
Pokemopia.
Jason, I'm going to have you go ahead and introduce the game, and then
Yeah.
Morgan's here for some backup commentary, and I'm pretty much going to sit back here.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you have to say. So, Pokemon Pokopia, man, this game's been hyped for quite a while now, and it turns out for good reason. So just a little background on the game itself. Pokopia is basically like a cozy open world life sim. It came out on March 5th, exclusively for the Switch 2. And it was developed by Game Freak, like a partnership between Game Freak and Koei Tecmo's Omega Force. And basically, you play as a Ditto, and the Ditto Pokemon can basically shapeshift and also basically mimic the powers of other Pokemons. And you're basically tasked with kind of restoring this, desolate wasteland of a region, along with Professor Tangrowth, which was kind of interesting. But basically, you start out the game, it's just the two of you. You wake up in a cave, and you see Professor Tangrowth there, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And he's like, what are you doing here? And the game just kind of takes off from there. So, a lot of people have been kind of describing it as a blend of like Animal Crossing, Minecraft, and Dragon Quest Builders. And I'd say that's, fairly accurate. It does a lot of things that those games don't do, but it definitely draws inspiration from those as well. So, yeah, you can basically terraform the ground, build structures. It's kind of it's kind of weird because it, like, the first hour to hour and a half, it just kind of bombards you with stuff. Like, it's constantly introducing new Pokemon. You're building these like tiny little habitats for them. I mean, the first, dozen really only require like 4 plots of grass, maybe some of them next to water, maybe some next to like something, and these Pokemon start popping up all over the place. And of course, all of them want your attention. They all have stuff for you to do, as well as the professor. And so at first, I was like, for a cozy game, it was giving me anxiety. But okay, Morgan's agreeing.
I had to up
Go ahead.
my anxiety meds, honestly. Drifloom did not have a home, and I was really tired, and I had to get up early, get him some fire, and get him set up for home.
Dude, that one especially, because like where I found him, he was kind of off
on his
in the distance, on his little lonesome, and he's like, man, it'd be really nice if my home could be next to everybody else. And I'm like, I'm trying, so there's a lot of that involved. But like Morgan, I don't know how much more time you've put into it since then, but I definitely have. And I don't know if it's my mentality towards the game changed, where I kind of like, okay, I'm just going to focus on these couple things, to start. But the more I play it, the more that has kind of gone away. I'm starting to kind of get into a rhythm with this game, and everything's been a little bit more. I mean, I still got a boatload of stuff that I need to try to do. But the nice thing about it though is, I know, I saw that. The nice thing about it though is nothing is like, you're not really timed on anything. So it's like, even if you don't get to the Pokemon right away, they're fine. You'll get to them when you get to them. And I had to kind of like think about that and be like, all right, I'll get to that, when I get to it. So yeah. What else was I gonna say? There is some I haven't touched on it yet, but there's some like multiplayer. You can fulfill requests and stuff from your Pokemon neighbors and invite up to 3 friends for local or online multiplayer. So I have also heard that there's been some chaos happening online with this game, people are going in and like destroying people's
Oh
like
no,
villages and stuff.
not the
Like,
Pokemon community, dude. What?
not the griefers
I
there.
thought we were
Yeah.
safe
So
with Pokemon.
I know. But yeah, I'm not like
Mm.
super far, probably 4 or 5 hours maybe. Um but it is like I said, it's starting to get to where I'm starting to a rhythm and a flow with this game where it's not as overwhelming as it was at the beginning. So, yeah, Pokemon Pokecopia
Love that,
Pokemopia.
babe.
turns out to be pretty cool.
I know Mo was kind
What
of
are your thoughts?
Mo was kind of nervous to come on here because I'll let her
Yeah.
take it over. But just be honest, your honest opinions. We're no judgment zone. You say whatever you want to say about it.
Okay, so to preface, I've only put about 5 hours in as well, but I would say a good
Okay.
half of my time was kind of getting lost and being like, okay, where did this go or that go? Or I needed the green scythe to make me some lumber.
Sorry.
Yep.
Scythe, yeah.
Yep.
Couldn't find him. So I had to like climb up to the mountain and look all over. Um, so I got to Driftloom and he was really sad because he was alone, like we talked about, and that stressed me out.
Mhm.
And then Onyx was stuck in like just this little bit of a cave, and I didn't have the move yet to save him, and I just never played again. I logged off of the game,
Oh no.
and it broke my heart.
Yeah.
So he's still stuck in the cave?
Yep, he's been stuck in the cave.
Oh,
I played it for the day it came out and the next day, and that was it. Couldn't do it.
that was
So,
about it. So,
this is this is causing massive anxiety for
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So I am already anxious on my own. And
well,
I usually play video games at night, like when I'm about to fall asleep. And I thought this would be cozy, but it's not. It's very stressful for me.
Yeah.
it does not start out cozy at all. I was in the same boat.
So
But
it is getting to a point now where it's starting to kind of ease up. I mean, you had to pretty much cast aside the feelings the game is forcing you to feel to kind of get into the flow state of it being kind of a cozy game, is what you're saying?
I suppose that is definitely part of it. I don't know if it's part that and part just getting more familiar with how everything works. And once I kind of figured out how everything works and how to tackle these, tasks and requests, I started to get just a little bit more comfortable with the game. And like I said, I mean, there's still a billion things for me to do at any point if I wanted to, but I started to kind of narrow in on one task at a time and get that done. But the other slight problem with that is when you do narrow in on a task, like, in my head I was like, all right, I'm just going to focus on this thing. I'm going to get this done so I can move on to the next thing. But you can't always get everything done
Hmm.
in one go. There's multiple steps. Some steps and literally involve waiting for things to happen. So then you kind of have to move on to something else. So you are still kind of balancing, different tasks back and forth. But I'm starting to get into the flow of how everything goes. And like I said, I'm like Morgan said, I'm probably 5-ish hours in. Um, so I know that's only going to get probably better. I know more things are going to get introduced. I just built the Pokemon Center in the first area, and now they're talking about this next area that I want to go to. So that's stressing me out a little bit because I'm like, dude, I'm far from done in this area. But I know that more things are going to get introduced, but I think the more comfortable I get with it, the more I'm like, that's fine. I can deal with that, when I deal with it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, as far as that goes, when you said you're kind of doing part of a task, going back to start a different one because you kind of got a stopping point, does the game do a good enough job of presenting like a quest log and keeping track of the things that you need to do somewhere, or are you just trying to having to remember all this shit?
Yeah, no, it keeps track of everything.
Okay.
You have like this like Pokemon, or like this Pokédex thing, like this little computer thing that you can pull up, and you can look at everything in there. All the Pokemon you've caught, the tasks that you are currently working on, the tasks that you haven't started yet, but you can at any time. Oh God, what else is?
Habitats
Yep,
they
the
like.
habitats. Yes,
So we should go into that.
that's very helpful.
We should
Yeah.
go into that because this is something completely new to Pokemon. So you're not catching Pokemon, you're building their habitat, right?
Yes.
So the whole point of the
Yes.
game
You
is
don't.
building their habitat for them to exist in.
And one of the things you got to keep in mind that I sometimes forget is you are a Pokemon.
Right.
You're a Ditto. It's
Mhm.
hard. It sometimes you forget about that because it looks like you're a person, but the Pokemon see you as a Pokemon. So there's no fighting, there's no battling because you're just another Pokemon. Now, I don't know if in the overall Pokemon world all the Pokemon get along, but in this game they seem to. Everyone kind of is friends with each other and they're also friends with you because you're one of them. So you can talk to them, you understand the Pokemon speak, I guess. So that's kind of nice, but yeah, so you're not actually catching them because that would be kind of weird, a Pokemon catching another Pokemon. So
Right.
they all just live in this place with you. So a different spin on things, but I mean it works, especially for the style of game it is. So
Gotcha. So Morgan,
yeah.
other than the other than the anxiety struggles they're having, um, is there anything gameplay related that in itself is holding you back from going back, or is it just the anxiety in the Pokemon and you can't you feel like you have to address their issue as soon as possible? Is that the only thing kind of holding you up, or
Uh, yeah, but it splits off in so many directions. I'm coming from a not Stardew Valley, Animal Crossing background.
you have
That's
Stardew?
my
Morgan's played thousands of hours of Stardew Valley and thousands of hours of Animal Crossing. Like she's the casual game expert. So it's so funny. This game is marketed as a casual game, but it's
Mhm.
driving a massive anxiety wedge in her heart. So
but the
it's just funny to me.
breakdown of that is with Animal Crossing, they don't come to your island until you've built them a house. These Pokemon are popping up, they need stuff,
Mhm.
and their comfort level, you would literally have to ask them how comfortable they are. I don't want anyone to be uncomfortable, so they're like, "I need a bed, I need some fruit," and it's like, "Hold on, I will get to
I know.
you." And
I'm trying.
just as a person, it just does not sit well with me. Do not come to my island till I've built you everything that you need.
Cat. Yeah, I just
Turned
find
the mic off. He bumped it with his nose. He said,
I
"It's
saw
over."
that.
yeah. So I just think this is interesting. I think it's good to have this. You know, Jason's kind of on the rise. It seems like kind of starting to really understand what's going on with the game. And then my wife here is very has got a different take than anyone I've ever heard talk about the game. Is that her personality's clashing with what the game's loops are, and I would imagine is that what drives the game forward is these distressed Pokemon and having to build their habitats. That's the whole gameplay loop, or is there anything outside of that you're trying to do? So like I'm just trying to figure out like if she continues and pushes past it for a little bit longer, does it ever get to a point where it will slow down and become the more cozy experience that she's looking for, in your opinion?
I'm absolutely sure that it will, and I've seen some some other gameplay footage of this from other people, and they have built this place up into this like freaking tropical paradise place with all their Pokemon happy and stuff. I mean, it does get there. It's just there's a process involved. And as far as like your question about you know, just trying to make the Pokemon happy, I mean, that is a part of it at the beginning, but I think I the overall goal, I guess, kind of this is like this used to be like a thriving island paradise for both Pokemon and humans, and something happened. I There is some mystery behind everything because I don't really know what happened to make this place the way that it is. But you're kind of slowly trying to solve that, and you're basically just you're rebuilding the region for Pokemon and humans. So you're just trying to make in the grand scheme of things, yeah, you are trying to make him unhappy, but in the process of that, you gotta stay on task of like, doing the things that you need to do to build up this world. Everything's like super dry at the beginning, and like you were saying with Onyx, trapped in the cave, you have to make it rain, to basically loosen up the soil to break this guy out. So there's always a process in every task that that you're doing. Like, you hear like, oh, he's stuck in a cave, go bust him out. You think oh, I'm just gonna run over there, and you get this move from what's the Pokemon that's like a boxer?
Machop,
Uh
Machamp, Machoke.
Machamp, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he gives you the brick break ability, so you can just run around and punch the ground out. But then there's certain areas that you're not strong enough to do that, and that's basically what he's stuck in. So, it's not as simple as just running to this area, punching the brick, and getting him out. It's like you get there, and it's like, oh well, before you do that, you have to do this. So, that does add a little bit of to the anxiety, because you're like, on top of that, you're thinking about, well, I just want to get him out because I got all these other things to worry about off on the side too. So I definitely see, Morgan, where you're coming from as far as the anxiety, because I felt that at first as well. But if you can just kind of stick with it, you'll get over that hump, and things do become a little bit more manageable.
Awesome. Yeah. So
How many bricks have you sucked up when you meant to get some leaves?
Oh God, so many. And how do you feel about the inventory management? That's stressing me out too.
Yeah, I don't like how the like storage boxes aren't all connected. Like they're
Right.
different things, and it's like, where did I put that? And then by the time you find
I
your
know.
box, it's like, where did I need to go with this?
Right.
ugh,
I've got like two of them in my home. I've got one in the Poke Center, and I don't remember what is in each one. And your backpack only holds so many. I was only able to get the first of the backpack upgrades so
Uh-huh.
far, which adds a whole nother row, which is nice, but all this, I'm to where that row is filled up with stuff too. So yeah, there's a lot. I mean, you basically can pick up anything. I've picked up stuff completely on accident. I'm walking around trying to pick up a stick, and I picked up the freaking tile underneath me, so it's like, yep, didn't want that. So, but it's real easy to lay everything back down. So
so
yeah.
sounds like Jason, you're planning to kind of keep chugging on this one, right? A little bit here and there now and then, or
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Morgan,
Yep.
honest opinion. Are you pretty much done with it, or are you thinking about going back? I mean, you've kind of gone back to Dicey Dungeons that night from what I've seen, so I'm just curious.
Dicey Dungeons is my go. Two, I've
Is
beat
your
it. I
go-to?
probably put 500 hours in it, just playing it over and over.
Good Lord.
I would probably, I'll go back to it because I just need a different mindset. I think
Mhm.
this conversation helped
It's
with.
hard.
Yeah, it gets better. But I mean,
It does.
compared,
It did for me.
yeah, compared to what the world was, all I'm doing is making it better. So even if they're not happy, they're still here.
Yeah. Yeah, very very true. Yeah, I will keep poking away at this one. From what I've seen,
Poking
in the
away.
later game stuff, poking away. What I've seen in like the later game stuff, it looks really cool. I want to like, do some of the things that I've seen other people do. And then plus I've heard like after there's like multiple like the overall game world seems pretty big. Um, and then you just keep getting more. There's like more areas that you get into, and then I've heard that the final area is basically just a literal sandbox for you to build like whatever you want. And I'm not usually that type of person, but the building and stuff in this is enticing enough that I think I want to try to come up with something pretty cool, for the end game stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna keep plugging away at this one.
For sure, that's great. Let's talk about the art style. Uh, Obviously, the character looks. I'm going to say he looks retarded. I'm sorry, he looks retarded. I mean, the ditto face on the human body does not look great, but I understand why they had to do it. So that's just my opinion. I'm just interjecting here. But
I thought you were going to put it a little lighter than that,
No,
but
I couldn't think of another word, so it is what it is.
you said the R word.
Yeah, yeah. Sue me. Anyways,
Whatever. Yeah.
it's got a very blocky aesthetic, very similar to Minecraft. Is that something
Yep.
that's? Are you okay with that? I mean, personally, when I look at it, it's not the most appealing for me. I think the Pokemon art design is good. I mean, it's on pace or on par with Pokemon franchise as a
Yeah.
whole. It's just the overworld design
sure.
a little bit different. What do you guys think about that, Morgan?
Morgan?
It's pretty Minecrafty, but given like the abilities and things, it's kind of appreciated so you can aim correctly.
Oh, sure.
Because
Yes.
each time you use a move, your PP goes down just like you would in a Pokemon game. So I guess it's they didn't really have another better way of doing it.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That
No,
makes sense.
I fully agree with that. Yeah. So like every time you punch a block, pull up some grass, chop some grass, your PP goes down. Sounds weird.
Beep beep.
But you and then it's so easy to refill it though. You just eat something and like three pieces of fruit will completely refill your bar. And it doesn't go down like super fast. So that's very manageable. But did you play any of the Dragon Quest builder games?
Mm-mm.
No, I've not
It
played a
reminds
single
me more
Dragon
of
Quest
that.
game. Okay,
Okay.
interesting.
It reminds me more of that than even like Minecraft. I mean, and it's the same team, so it makes
Oh,
sense.
Koei Tecmo, right?
Yes, yep, they did the Dragon Quest Builders game. So yeah, it works. Yeah, maybe it's not like the prettiest thing and everything is very blocky, but like Morgan said, it fits the aesthetic. It makes the building and the crafting and stuff just kind of work a little bit better because you're not
Yeah,
worried about like, oh, I got to put this in this right spot or whatever. Everything's on a basically a grid or a block layout, so it's pretty easy
Which is
to get
almost like
things built.
appreciated because in Animal Crossing they kind of have a block system as well, but they just don't show the block. So if you go to like
Yes.
put a flower down, it can pop anywhere unless you dig a hole, but the holes are only like blocks away from each other, so you don't really know the measurement in Animal Crossing, which keeps it more, I don't know, pretty, aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did you play Donkey Kong Bonanza?
Oh yeah, I loved it.
I was well. This is off. I'm not even gonna go into that. That terraforming system wouldn't work in this game, right? Because can't you just
No,
fuck
not at
everything up
all.
in that game? Okay, so
You would fuck everything up. That Bonanza is so like fast. Like
yeah,
everything, you break everything so fast. You're not worried about rebuilding anything in Bonanza. In this, you kind of have to worry about what you're destroying and what you might put in that place or whatever. So no, this is this is a lot slower, a little bit more methodical
Well, did we
in
just
its
reveal the
approach to.
secret of what happened with this island in Pokopia?
what are you talking about?
Did
Spoilers?
what?
No.
Did
What?
Donkey
Oh,
Kong come smash everything, and that's why
Oh,
we're fixing it?
that's why
imagine,
we're here.
imagine.
Can you imagine at the end? That'd be fantastic.
So yeah,
Kong was here.
that was a stupid question. That was I didn't play Donkey Kong, so I didn't know. I was just curious, but
Donkey Kong's too high.
Yeah.
Tropical freeze.
dude, those games were fucking ridiculous.
Tropical Freeze is tough.
The
That
side scrolling
Bonanza's a totally
Donkey
different
Kong
game.
games were so
Yeah.
crazy. How's the sound design?
There's that Drifloom again. It's just making fun of me, man.
It's he's still in your game. He's still waiting for you to come back to give him a home. So
Choose at your heartstrings.
not to add
I
more
would love
anxiety
to
to
be
you.
around it.
Um
Oh, come on.
sound design is fine. Nothing really stands out as being amazing. The Pokemon sound like Pokemon. There's obviously no
Yeah,
voice acting or anything. Music is good, but it's kind of forgettable at the same time. So I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention to it. So
I listen to an audiobook on my headphones when I play on my Switch, so I never
Mhm.
have the sound on for anything.
Oh, for anything at all.
What a
I
game!
mean,
What a
and this is
gamer!
the type of Well, this is of any game, this is one that you could definitely do that with, and you're not really missing anything. So
Nice.
that would work.
So I'm seeing a lot of
Yeah.
this is deep Pokemon lore, I guess. I'm seeing a lot of Gen 1 here in the first area. Is
Yep.
the game focused on that solely going forward, or
You know,
I
don't know
Huh?
for sure, but
my Gen 1 cross stitch.
Oh yeah. Oh, you need to show it, yeah.
oh
Morgan
yeah.
cross stitched the entirety of the 151. This huge
Oh my
fucking
God.
Took
thing.
me
It's
5
awesome.
years.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Good Lord.
Show
But yeah, it does seem like there's a lot
I'll
of
go get it.
no,
Oh,
just show
go
it in
ahead.
Pokemon or Morgan's Craft Corner. Just post it in
She
Morgan's
wants to go
Craft Corner.
get it.
Okay, go get it. You're supposed to be a
I
part of this.
spent 5 years on it. You're like,
Yes.
no one wants to see it.
I did not.
I
You're
want
gonna
to show it now.
post it in the Craft Corner as well, just so that way it's there. Where was I going with this?
But yeah,
Anyway.
no, go back to what you just said. I mean, it does seem like it's a lot of Gen 1,
Mhm.
stuff at the beginning. I'm not like super familiar with where each Pokemon fits in the gens. I think I do remember. Yeah, there's about 300
Hold
total
on, Jason.
Pokemon.
Hold on.
Oh my goodness.
Oh no, wrong scene. There it is. Look at that.
Here's it.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, it's like literally 4
Oh
feet
my God.
tall.
It was
Like
5 years of my life, and Cam's dad had to make a special frame for it.
That is amazing.
it is super cool.
Wow. Wow.
Awesome. All right, now I gotta get back to the right scene without messing it up. Video version is scuffed today.
It's fine.
Yeah, I think this game is interesting. I don't know if it would hold me, but that's just I'm not really in...
No,
Go ahead.
It probably wouldn't hold everyone.
Yeah, so can
So-
you see the silver lining as to why this game is getting the ratings it's getting at this point in your playthrough?
To be 100%, not really.
Okay.
Because I can't. It's hard to put myself in someone else's mindset,
Mhm.
of like what this is really. I think it's great.
Yeah.
But it seems to be really taking off, and I mean that's great.
Yeah,
For
I
those
mean,
people, some people just really dig these types of games.
it's one of the highest rated games of the year so far. So, do you see
Yeah.
where this game is going to get the... I mean, it's getting an 89 on Metacritic, which is literally one of the highest of the year. Do you see, like, where that's coming from?
Possibly. I mean, I don't feel like I'm into it enough to really judge it. And I have more anxiety than probably 80% of the world. So, I'm
So
at
that's gotta be hard
20%.
then,
I think
yeah.
Yeah.
there's a difference. It's sold that many copies because Pokemon and Animal Crossing are huge franchises, and you
Yes.
stick them together. Like, of course, it's gonna sell like hotcakes.
Yep. And we mentioned that when we talked about it. But pre-release, we mentioned it's going to sell.
But as
So-
far as rating,
Yeah.
I don't feel like I could speak on that.
Okay, that's fair.
Which is a good point that you bring up, because it's like not only has it sold a ton, but the ratings are really high. It'd be a different story if it like
right.
just came out the gate just selling like hotcakes, and then people are like, it's not quite what I thought it was. I mean, it's definitely doing something for a large portion of the gaming community. So
Yeah, I mean that's why
that's great.
That's why I posed the question, because I'm trying to.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're not as our show, we're not quite far enough to really know for sure, I guess, and maybe just what you guys have played so far is what people are loving about it. That could totally be the case, but
Yeah.
it's just interesting to me that this game sold as well as it did. So it's got a lot of aggregate reviews making up that Metacritic score, and it's still ridiculously high. So there's something.
Absolutely.
There's definitely something here. I got, like I said, I'm not going to play this. I don't think. I think you're covering it, so I don't even need to.
Yeah.
So we'll keep touching on it, and then I'll have Morgan back.
Part
Yeah, for
two.
sure.
When she feels
Next
comfortable to
year.
talk about it. Yeah. So she's got to break the dicey dungeons curse. But anything else in particular you want to stick with on Pokopia before we close out this segment?
No.
I don't think so. I think we've kind of covered at least our overall thoughts
Perfect.
on it. And like you said, we'll touch on this here and there as we go forward. So
Absolutely. Morgan, thank you for joining us.
Nancy.
Yeah,
yes,
Andy.
thank you.
He's my best friend. He's my little shadow.
Puppies. Anyway, so yeah, that's Pokopia. Thanks, babe. Appreciate it. All right, there you go, guys. Welcome back. That was my wife and Jason's first impressions, so to speak, on Pokopia. They both seem interested to continue working through it, but not quite sure of why it's getting the review scores that it is. So I'm excited for them to continue this conversation later on down the road to see if we can finally find out what is causing this massive hype train behind this game. It could just be that it's a new game, new, style of video game in the Pokemon universe that's really kind of bumping its ratings up, but we'll have to see. I'm talking completely out of my ass, but Nintendo's company share price has consistently been dropping since November from a high point of $89.09 per share on November 6th down to a low of $52.74 on February 13th, a drop of more than 40%. But it did see a surge from that low from $57.60 on Tuesday to $63.65 today, which is a 10.4% increase before closing at $62.74. So it came back down just a little bit. But the Nintendo share price is jumping up there with the high review scores of Pokopia, which is very, very good. This is just a nice little article, kind of showing the power of Metacritic scores, I would say. I think that was one of the big talking points with this game is that it did score so high that a lot of people that maybe wouldn't have purchased the game went out and bought it. Maybe you could look at it that way, or you could look at it the same way that my wife kind of mentioned during the conversation that you just listened to from them. It's a hybrid between Animal Crossing, one of the most popular Nintendo Switch franchises of all time, and Pokemon, which is the biggest gaming franchise in the world. So just makes sense that it sold very well and got them to climb up there. So very, very good. It said 15%. Okay, because of it was at 54.37 on Monday. So interesting. But yes, that is very cool. I'm very happy that game is doing well. I'm excited to hear more on that as we go through. Not really a game for me, not one I'm going to check out, but I'm very excited for those conversations to continue. So moving on from there, that's all that we had in the news. Like I said, there wasn't a whole lot to go through this week. We kind of kept checking throughout the week, and it just kind of was a slow news week, which there's no issue with whatsoever. So I'm going to go ahead and pivot to the comments section now. I suppose what we'll do is I will go through our comments, and then maybe we'll keep these on the dock and ask Jason for his takes on these comments when he returns, whether it be next week or whatever. We'll just intro the show by kind of going through these comments with him, and we'll get his take on them. But I got to go ahead and pop the headphones on because our first question, the question of the week, submitted by Hysterical Ant, or Jason with a Y, sent in an audio clip. So we're going to go ahead and listen to this. I know this scene's going to be wrong because it's going to have Jason's webcam box, but just roll with me. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the comment section. I will let Jason ask his question.
What's up, Spawn Point? This is the other Jason, or also known as Hysterical Ant. I proposed a question to Cam and Jason regarding, as they get older, has the genre of games they play changed or stayed the same? I was thinking about this at work, where I was kind of having a nostalgic moment where I was thinking about, wow, I'd really like to play Command & Conquer. And that prompted my question to them, are they falling back to their childhood genres, or as they're older, are they falling into a broader category? As I reflected on that, I feel like I really fall back towards those older games because there's more of a comfort. And as we're older, we have a lot less time to really dive into something like brand new. So really being cognizant of that is very interesting. And I look forward to trying to extend my boundaries on that going forward. I look forward to seeing what Cam and Jason think as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that submission, Jay. Incredible. And a great answer to follow. So thank you so much for sending that in. I think it's a fantastic question that he poses here. So when I was a kid, my main genre was racing games, in particular arcade racing games, and I've talked about that on this show many times. I still play arcade racing games. I try to get my hands on as many of those as I possibly can, and for the reason that he mentioned, that is my comfort food. I love playing arcade racing games. It's just where I belong. It's what makes me feel good and makes me comfortable, and it's a game I can pop on and not think too much about and just kind of drive and get all the feels back from when I was a kid playing Underground 2 on my GameCube and growing up with all the arcade racing games. And I mentioned a long time ago that I think that my arcade racing game love came from a game called Moto Racer that you could pick up at a Scholastic book fair when we went to school, like in elementary school. I think I got it from Galactic or Scholastic book fair, along with Roller Coaster Tycoon. So I played the hell out of Moto Racer, loved Moto Racer. That's kind of what started me off on that path. And like I said, I probably played that when I was 6 or 7 or so. And I still love that game to this day. I've gone back and played Moto Racer, and that's kind of where my love of arcade racing games started. But that was probably my main childhood genre, other than first-person shooters. That was kind of my teenage year genre that I was really big stuck into, along with most people at that time. Call of Duty lobbies and Battlefield lobbies dominated the high school lunch table conversations, and you weren't really up with the times if you weren't playing COD with your buddies after school or during the weekends and things like that. So played a lot of first-person shooters. But those are my comfort genres. I think the FPS genre is definitely taking a back seat for me. I just don't think they're as enjoyable as they were back in the day, and a lot of that comes down to the community aspects that were behind those shooters at the time. I'm very fortunate to still have friends like my buddy Larry and my buddy Jay, who still will buy the occasional FPS that we can jump in and play together. But it's a little bit different when you don't have a group of 10 people, going in. It's a Modern Warfare 2 and playing Border Patrol, like our custom made game that we thought up and doing that stuff. So the community aspect is a little bit lacking. And, I feel like Call of Duty has been very stagnant since COD 2018, been very stagnant. So I've kind of fallen out of interest with the FPS genre. And then as I've gotten even older, recently I've gotten really big into JRPGs. We've talked about that, and it's possibly the worst time in my life for me to start liking JRPGs, because as Jay said, we don't have the same amount of time that we did back in the day for video games. So being really into JRPGs that are traditionally 60 to 100 hours long is very difficult for me to find the time to play. So as much as I love that genre, as much as I love Final Fantasy X, as much as I loved Clair Obscur Expedition 33, as much as I enjoyed the beginning of Metaphor ReFantasio, it's just not a feasible genre for me to play and still be able to conduct this podcast every single week, just because, like I said, this week in particular, I got 2.5 hours of gaming time the entirety of the week. So it was, it's just not a feasible genre for me to plug away at. So that's unfortunate. But to answer the question, as far as leaning back on our old genres or my old genres, I fall back to arcade racers as much and as often as I possibly can. That is my comfort food. So fantastic question, Jason. Thank you so much for submitting that. That was a fun one to answer. And again, I appreciate you answering the question as well. You had a fantastic answer, and I hope you can go ahead and dive back into some Command and Conquer sometime in the future. So moving on from there, Just Robin asked, this was on my Tokyo Extreme Racer short, where I did that little spin trick to gain CP. He says, I don't really feel the need for extra points too much, but honestly, I'll watch anything about the game. It brought me back to playing racing games like I did as a kid. So I love that answer. And I feel the same way playing TXR. It's a very comfortable, we just fucking talked about it, arcade racing game. It does bring back the vibes of playing racing games as a kid, and I love it for that as well. To answer the first part of the question, you don't need extra points. I agree with you 100%. It was kind of useful in the first chapter. I have moved past the first chapter now where my rivals definitely give out more CP than they did in the first chapter. And because of that, I've not needed to do that little trick or whatever. But it was still a fun short. I'm always trying to figure out things I can put out for you guys. And obviously that's going to be related to what I'm playing. And there's not a lot of content that I can make with TXR. So that was basically the only thing that came to mind. But I appreciate the comment nonetheless. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying it very much as well. And thank you for your submission. It means a lot. Moving on, we got another question or another comment from Sal's Bones or Jay or Hysterical Ant. And this was from podcast episode number 8. Jason says, the N64 has arguably the best game of all time, so that is my defense over the controller. And I respect that. And his answer was obviously to what game? GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. Both FPS games. I've been holding back a sneeze for like 15 minutes. I apologize. I'm trying not to sneeze. I'm sniffling. It's weird. But I respect that Jason grew up with GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, so he's able to have that memory in his head, which is great. I just can't go back to play GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. I would love to experience those and understand why he feels confidently in GoldenEye and Perfect Dark as being some of the best games of all time. But those NES for FPS games, dude, are just very unapproachable for a modern gamer to go back and play. And I didn't grow up with an N64, like I said. That was not something that I had. It was something that I had access to when I went over and stayed the night at some of my friends' houses. And then even when I had the opportunity to play the N64, I never really wanted to, just because I didn't understand how to hold the damn controller and any of that stuff. So it was just weird. Yeah, I don't like it, but I'm glad Jason does. I'm glad he's able to retain those memories of GoldenEye and Perfect Dark. And I believe Jason and I may be fucking crazy, but I feel like we played GoldenEye together on an emulator. We did something, because I remember playing GoldenEye multiplayer. When the hell was that, or how did that occur? I don't remember. But I just hated that game. Anyways, I didn't hate the game. I never really played it. I just didn't. The multiplayer experience that we had, so to speak, was rough, to say the very least. Let's just put it that way. So, not throwing any shade. If that's your preference, hell yeah, dude, do you. Moving on from there, the last comment we have for the week is from Aiden Hutton. And this is from Jason's Fallout 4 short. I feel like they could have put Fallout 4 on the Switch 1, considering they have Skyrim and pretty much runs at the same FPS as Fallout 4 on some of the older generation consoles. I put this in here when Jason was going to be on the show, so he could kind of dive into this one. This is more of a question for him than it is for me. I'll just say that I think that you probably are correct. I think that they probably could have had a port for Fallout 4 on the original Switch. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that they waited to put it on the Switch 2, though, since it sounds like it's running better at a higher frame rate and things like that to all make the experience a little bit more tolerable, I guess is the word I would say. So yeah, I think you're correct. I think they could have done a port. I'm not necessarily mad that they waited for a better piece of tech to finally do the project. But again, another great question. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for the Spawn Point Podcast mini episode. I guess this is mini number 2. Hope you guys enjoyed. I did my very best. I know it probably wasn't as good as normal. We didn't have any back and forth this week, but we still touched on the news. So that'll be good. That stuff's all going to be relevant this week and not necessarily next week. So I'm glad I was able to get through that. And stick around, of course. We'll have a discussion on Kree Soul, doing the end wrap-up discussion for Kree Soul next week. So that'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to try to continue to plug away at God of War Sons of Sparta this week as well. See if I can continue to make some progress on that. I think I'm a long ways from being at the end of that game, so I'm not going to be able to guarantee or confirm that we'll have an end game discussion for 2 games next week, but we will see. Other than that, we will be back next week. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you guys in the next one.